Hi Trish, it's nice to meet you.
Hello.
I'm Caitlin. I'll be conducting the interview today.
Okay, thank you for seeing me.
No worries. It's important to remember that the purpose of this isn't just to see if you're the right person for the job. It's also so you can find out more and see if it's the right job for you.
Okay,
So feel free to ask any questions as we're going through or at the end.
thank you.
I'm going to ask you some questions and I'll be taking notes throughout the interview.
Okay.
All right, let's get started.
All right,
We'll start with an easy one.
Okay, I'm a bit nervous, thank you.
That's all right, that's all right. What do you know about this organisation?
I've lived here all my life, and I know that the council does a great job running the town. I know that, for example, they take care of a lot of amenities and facilities, and it's roads and buildings and the pool and all the things that I use and my children use. So I have had a relative who used to work for the council as well, so I know a little bit from that perspective. And I feel like I should... I want to work here because I think it's important to be part of the town we live in, and I'm ready for a change of roles from what I've been doing. And I saw this job come up and I thought that would be a really great place to start and work in the community.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And more specifically, how about HR?
I haven't got a formal qualification in HR, I have to say, but I do have quite a lot of experience because in my former position with the department, I did several placements overseas where I had to manage people. Mm-hmm. So I have had a lot of experience in managing problems or managing the finance side for payroll, that kind of thing. And we have our own online HR system, as I know you must as well. Ours is called PeopleSoft, and that's how you put in a request to have a position filled. That's how you organise people's pay as well as their hours. So that's my HR experience as opposed to anything formal. But yeah, quite a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Can you please tell me about a situation at work that involved having to resolve some kind of conflict?
Oh yes, I've got a good HR example actually for where we had a problem. At an embassy where I was stationed at one stage, we had a social secretary, and her role was to I was the ambassador's assistant, so her role was to work to the ambassador. Mm-hmm. So she, with her language skills in the country in which we lived, was responsible for maintaining our contact list, our databases of who is who. She was supposed to know who the important people were. She also sent out invitations and RSVP'd for invitations and did the daily program for the ambassador, and she also liaised with our driver to get the ambassador where he needed to go. Unfortunately, she wasn't good. Apparently, I was told by my predecessor that she was never good, but so we had to manage her so closely every day. It was quite wearing. She didn't get along with the ambassador's wife when they were doing functions at the house, which was a big problem, of course. And I think it probably came to a head when she made some very serious protocol mistakes and got us into some trouble. So at that stage, we decided to institute some management processes we have, and we did that for a while. It didn't work, and so the solution to the problem was we unfortunately had to let her go and recruit a new, much better social secretary. So I think we solved the problem. I mean, ideally you don't want to do that, but I think it's important sometimes you have to move on.
Mm-hmm. And what was your personal input in that? You told me about we, but...
Yes, well, the ambassador was notionally everybody's supervisor, but of course it was my role to supervise her. And so I guess I worked a little bit with the ambassador's wife, got her to back me up if you like, but I was the one who led the ambassador onto the course of we have to do a series of interviews to performance manage. Mm-hmm. So he agreed to do that, conducted the interviews, and then backed my recommendation, which was to let her go. So okay. Yes, so I was the prime driver of the process.
Okay. All right. Could you please describe a time when you've had to juggle priorities in your job, and how did you decide what to prioritise?
That's a good question. I'll just have a moment to collect my thoughts, if that's all right.
Take your time.
So, clashing priorities. I feel like there are so many. I'm just trying to come up with something sensible to talk about. I suppose the best, I haven't got an HR example probably so much, but the best example of clashing priorities might be when you've had a minister come to your overseas post and we have to set up, you know, an office and run the visit very carefully, of course, to their satisfaction. But at the same time, I also had to do passports in the post that I was at, and I had an emergency passport that had to be issued. At the same time, I was supposed to be working in the office where the Prime Minister was. So that took a lot of scrambling. So what I did, I was able to find someone to cover for me at the hotel office for an hour, and that gave me enough time to go with the locally engaged person who was our passport delivery person. She actually produced the passports in those days. They're all done centrally now, but we used to do them at post. And she and I managed to travel to the airport and issue the passport, and then I got back to the hotel in time to take over from my colleague. So it worked quite well, but it was a very stressful couple of hours.
It sounds it.
Yes, yes.
All right. Now, can you tell me an example of when you've made an error at work and how you went about resolving it?
Yes, I have a recent error. My current boss is the deputy of a department who travels constantly. Well, probably every second week he travels overseas. And I prepare a pack for him. The pack includes everything I feel like he will need for the trip. So it's got his taxi booking, it's got his plane bookings, his hotel reservation, it's got his contact details of people he will need to contact when he gets there. It's got a full program listing all his flights and times that he needs to take note of. And I also get the briefing from our political people to put in for his meetings. And so I put this together for a trip and I gave it to him, and he went home to pack and go to the airport. And then he rang me from home and said, don't I need a passport to go to Brussels? And I said, oh, yes, you do. I'd forgotten to put the passport, the most important thing, in. So he said, oh, that's all right. I'll come by on my way to the airport. And I said, no, I made the mistake. So I jumped in my car and I drove it out to his house and handed it to him in person, so I knew that he would have it before he went to the airport.
Excellent. All right. Please can you tell me about a time when you've gone above and beyond what is expected of you at work?
Yes, I have the role of being the sort of secretariat for a weekly executive meeting we have of our secretary and the 5 deputy secretaries. So, and our chief finance officer and our chief personnel officer, and they, at that meeting every week, go through the big issues and make the big decisions, you know, and there's an agenda because we try and keep it to 3 or 4 issues, because somebody from that relevant area of the issue comes in to speak to it and persuade them to their course of action or whatever it is they want to do. And my role is to put together the pack of all the papers for each of these and print out an agenda. I have a colleague who is in charge of the agenda itself and organising things like that the room is ready and all that sort of thing, and that the people know what time they have to come to speak. He was off sick and it was Tuesday, which is the deadline. So I just did everything. So I found the agenda on our system and was able to contact all of the speakers and make sure that they had the times right. Took care of the room booking and the catering. We do catering for the senior executives. I then got in touch with people who were giving me the papers and got them on time, put them into the packs and got them to the committee members before the end of the day. Well, it wasn't before the end of the day. I had to stay late to do it, but it was worth doing it because it got done on the day, and that was the important thing. So I went above and beyond by doing 2 roles and staying late. Yeah.
Is it often expected of you to work overtime?
I wouldn't say it's expected to work overtime. I think in general the department trusts people to do their job in the time it takes. So I know some people do work longer days than others, but I would generally go home. I went in quite early. I go in quite early and then I go home. I try and go home at 5. Try and get a good work-life balance. But by the same token, if there's something I haven't finished, I will stay and finish it. So not expected, but yeah. They expect you to do your job and I'm happy to do it.
Excellent. What would be the main difference between 2 of your former placements?
Well, because of the posting situation, I suppose there are some quite marked differences. I suppose when I'm in my last role overseas, I was the consul, and so I was in charge of, as I say, passports, personnel, property, finance, that kind of thing. And in this role, I look after a senior executive, so I'm more of I'm fixing problems as they arise, making sure he's got everything he needs before he even thinks of it, preempting everything and fixing problems. So, yeah, quite different in that way.
I'm curious, which role did you enjoy more?
I enjoyed them both very much, I think. I liked I like to have a role where I look after a senior person because you get to see lots of interesting things and know lots of really high caliber people. By the same token, however, I really enjoy the process of working in administration, so for HR and so on. So I haven't got a favourite probably, but I did enjoy HR and all of the management systems and things, and that's what led me to try for this job, because I felt like it was a good time for a change for me, and I felt that this might be a role I could not only learn from but also bring something to.
What would you say is your greatest contribution when you work as part of a team?
Greatest contribution. Sometimes I've even when I'm being an EA, I do work in a team of other senior EAs. So the things I enjoy most about. I'm sorry, did you say bring to it? Enjoy to? What was the question again?
What's your greatest contribution?
Greatest contribution. I think my greatest contribution is my flexibility, because I am able to either step up and take the lead in a team if it needs to be done, if I have the skills for it, or if I can sense that nobody wants to take that leading role, I'm happy to step up and do it. But by the same token, if there is somebody who knows what they're doing more than I do, or wants to be the leader for whatever reason, I'm very happy to be just a member as well. I would say flexibility.
Okay. Do you prefer to work in a team or autonomously?
I do prefer to work in a team, and I feel like something like HR, that was another thing I liked about it. You do have your own job to do, which is nice, but you're also part of a team working towards the same goal. So I think I would enjoy that aspect. Yeah.
All right. I've got a scenario question now.
Oh, okay.
If an employee has been overpaid at work through the fault of the payroll team, what course of action would you take with that employee and why?
Yes, that's a really good question actually, and it's something that I know about because I've seen it happen to some of my colleagues. And what I would do is what hasn't happened with them, which is because it was our fault. The first thing you should do is apologise. So I feel like sometimes people get a very impersonal, abrupt email saying you've been overpaid. How do you want to pay it back? And I mean, we all know that it has to be paid back, but I feel like there are better ways of doing it. So first step is to apologise, and the second is to maybe have a personal meeting with the person and ask them what their preferences are. How would they like to pay back? It may be that they have some cash and they would rather get rid of the debt immediately, or it may be that they've got a lot of commitments and they can't afford to do that. So we would work out a fortnightly amount or something to come out of their pay until the debt was paid off. So, I think that's what I would do.
Excellent, that sounds good. Okay, that's it from the questions from me.
Okay.
But is there anything you'd like to add or ask?
I suppose I'd like to just start by saying I feel like I am a strong contender. I know even without formal qualifications, I've got a great deal of life experience. I have dealt in my previous roles with people well. It's considered one of my strengths, and I think that I could, as I say, I could bring a lot as well as learn. So that I'd like to just say that. And I guess for questions, I would like to just ask you how many people you are interviewing for the role.
Interviewing?
Yes.
There'll be 12 candidates.
12 candidates. Okay. And what's the salary for the job?
Between 55 and 65,000.
Is that depending on experience?
We'll judge it based on your experience.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. And I suppose the last question is how long is the process? When can I expect perhaps to hear about.
I'd like to be letting everyone know by the end of the month. So that's my goal. If it is a week or two later, then don't panic.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hoping by the end of the month I'll be giving everyone a call.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks so much for seeing me.
It's been so nice to meet you.
I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.